Hello friends, welcome back. In my last video, I have described what the topics we are going to cover in this video series. In this video, I would like to describe about the OpenShift container platform. So let's get started. So as you know, this is the OpenShift overview. So in this video, I'm going to describe what the OpenShift is. So as we know, IT must evolve to stay ahead of demand. We are in the process where the IT is changing every year. So you can see if we are talking about the development process, we were using the waterfall, then we moved to the agile. Now the DevOps is the most demanding development process nowadays, where your dev and ops team sit together, work together to achieve a one common task or goal. The same thing you can see here about the application architecture. So previously we were using the monolithic, now we are using the microservices. If you are looking here at the deployment and packaging, previously we were using the physical servers, then we moved to the virtual servers, now we are moving to the containers. The same if we are talking about the application infrastructure. Previously we build the data center, then we start hosting our applications to another data center or the hosted service. Now we are using the cloud. So this is the IT is changing, so IT must evolve to stay ahead of demands. OpenShift is a self-service platform where the developers as well as the operations, they can start doing whatever they want to do. It supports the multi languages, like you can have the Python code, you can have the PHP, you can have the Ruby, you can have Node.js and so on. It supports the automation by using the Jenkins as well as the Ansible. You can use these tools to manage the automation task in OpenShift. You can also collaborate with your team. You can describe your team. You are the developer, you are the auditor, you are the administrator of the cluster, you are just a deployer and so on. It supports the standard based, so you will have a simple easiest web dashboard from where you can manage most of the things in the OpenShift cluster. It is also provide the web scale console where you can log in and you can launch applications, you can create the build, you can start the build, you can trigger the build, you can deploy and so on. Most important or interesting part is here, it's a open source. If you would like to go with the open source, you can go with open source. So it's a OpenShift Origin. If you would like to go with the enterprise grades, it's a OpenShift by Red Hat. So OpenShift is available in three categories. One is called OpenShift Origin, which is the open source. One is the OpenShift Enterprise, which is the enterprise grade platform. You can deploy the OpenShift in your own premises or on the cloud vendor like Google or AWS or Azure, or you can have your bare metal infrastructure inside your data center. You can also have the application to be deployed in OpenShift Online, which is also by Red Hat, but it's a platform as a service to run your applications. Value of OpenShift: it is expedite your innovation to the market. So whatever you are developing today, if you are getting some more bugs and something, you can quickly test in and you can deploy it. So it will expedite the process to make the changes and deploy that one to the market. It will also accelerate application development process, because once the developers they have end up with their code, you can quickly deploy the application and you can quickly report to the developers and they can improve the code and you can do the same again. So it is going to accelerate the application development process. It's also the increase the operational efficiency. Like as I mentioned to you, it support the DevOps model, so definitely it is going to enable the DevOps here. So where your developers as well as your operations team sit together, work together to achieve one common goal or task. So it's a value of the OpenShift. Community powered innovation. So there are a lot of the things has been done by the open source communities. So we are using the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which is powered by Fedora, which is the open source. Whatever the features and fixes comes in Fedora, that becomes to the enterprise grade operating system in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. The same thing in the case of the Wildfly. So Wildfly is a middleware tool where you can manage your Java applications. This is the open source, and enterprise grade is called JBoss EAP. Kubernetes is also the enterprise open source. Docker is also the open source. So all these open source tools are combined and used by one open source community, which is called OpenShift Origin. So OpenShift Origin is still the open source, which has all these projects from the open source community to utilize their features and functionality. And from the OpenShift Origin, OpenShift Enterprise by Red Hat and OpenShift Online is available. So whatever the new features and things are available in Origin from these open source tools, they will become available for the OpenShift Enterprise by Red Hat and OpenShift Online by Red Hat. OpenShift Origin is the open source, but OpenShift Enterprise by Red Hat, you can deploy the OpenShift, as I mentioned, in your own premises, own your data center, bare metal hardware and so on, or you can deploy it on the cloud provider like Google or AWS. But if you would like to use the OpenShift Online, it is just a platform as a service where you can deploy your application directly. There is no need of any infrastructure. So this is the power of the OpenShift, which is the community driven projects. This is the high level overview about the OpenShift. So let me describe you little bit here. So you can see this is the master. So we have the concept is called master and worker. So you can say the master as well as the nodes. This is the master and this is the node. So master has couple of services, like it has the API authentication. So whenever the user is going to log in the OpenShift cluster, it is authenticating those user, they are valid or not. Then it is stored the data store, like how many nodes we have in this cluster, how many number of pods are running, the number of services and so on. So that is stored in data store, which is used by the OpenShift, and the name of the data store is called etcd. Master is also responsible for the scheduling the pods on these nodes. So we say it's a scheduler service which is also run on the master. And it also managing the replication, means if you have decided to run one pod or two pod or four pods, so it is the responsibility of the master node and this service to maintain the desired state of that particular application. Like you have ran a application with 4 pods, so it will available, means your OpenShift will make sure that the 4 pods always will be running, and that particular thing is managed by the replication management. So these services are running on the master node. When then we will have the nodes. So actual pods or your actual applications that is going to be run on the node. So these are called pods. So pods will be running on the nodes. By default, master doesn't have any nodes to pods to be run on that particular host, but if you would like to enable, you can enable that one, but is not recommended. So here these are the nodes where your actual application is going to be run in the form of pods. So you have multiple pods here. These nodes can have the RHEL or as well as the atomic, which is the small, I will say, the footprint of the RHEL OS, which has the capabilities to run just a containerized applications, or you can use the RHEL. It depends on use. It's supporting both of the platforms. So these are the nodes. So you can have multiple nodes inside a cluster, and you can have the multiple master node to support the high availability. For example, your application which is running inside the pod, they require some persistent storage. So here you have the persistent storage, so you can provide the storage to these pods or to your application to store the data persistently. Whatever the image, because when I say pod, it means it's a Docker image which you are using. So if you are running the application on these nodes, from where the Docker image will be downloaded. So this is your registry server, or you can say the registry component. Whenever you are running a command to launch a pod from the master node, then it will fetch that particular image from the registry server, and it will run that pod on any of the node which is fulfilling the criteria of that particular pod to be run on that particular node. And if required, that pod required the persistent storage, the persistent storage will also come. The bottom layer will be it could be on physical server, virtual server, private and public cloud. So there is no limitation. You can have these nodes, some of these physical nodes, some of the virtual nodes, some of the private and public cloud. So it doesn't matter. This is the beauty of the OpenShift. It doesn't really dependent on the physical or virtual or public or private clouds. And then we have a routing layer here. So it means if you are running a application on these nodes, so how these applications will be accessible from outside of the cluster. So we have the routing layer here, and routing layer will forward the traffic from outside world to your node and then your pods, and then it will serve the application to the outside world. This is the developer, this is the operation guy. So developers, they suppose they are using the SCM, source code management tool, like Git and SVN. So they will do the commit or changes on their code. Once they have committed, they are pushing that code, and that code will come directly with the help of CI/CD. Depend on your workflow, whatever the workflow you have designed to perform that particular process. So it will totally depend on you guys, but as I mentioned to you, it also support the Jenkins to be run on the OpenShift container platform. So you can manage the whole thing by using the CI/CD pipeline and so on. But remember that whatever the developer or the operations guy they are doing, all those requests will come directly to the master server. You cannot communicate directly to the OpenShift nodes, because these nodes take the instructions from the master, not directly from the developers or the operations guy, right? So whenever you are going to log in or authenticate yourself with the OpenShift cluster, your API will check your authentication and your credentials are good. Then it will store that particular information and pass your instructions to the node. For example, your operations team is saying, okay, I would like to launch a one pod. So they have logged in on this particular cluster, so that particular credential is checked by this master, and then it will store the information, what type of resources you would like to launch. That will be stored in etcd data store. Then it will forward that particular request to the scheduler. So scheduler will forward or instruct to the nodes, okay, I have this request from one of the team member to launch a new pod. So before launching or passing that particular instruction, master server is checking the details inside the data store. This is the new request, or this is the request which I already have in my store. So for example, your operation guy or the developer guy, they are saying, okay, I would like to launch a pod with or one service or one resource with 4 pod. So master server is going to check that particular credentials, you are authorized to do that. Once it is okay, then it will check the request you are raised it is available in my data store. For example, you have instruct the master server, I would like to have this application with 4 parts, so it will check the desired state of that particular request. If doesn't meet here, then it will pass to the scheduler. Then scheduler will pass that particular instructions to the node based on their criteria, whatever the like node resources has been reported back to the master, and then those parts will be running. Once the scheduler pass the instructions to the node, now it's a responsibility of the management and replication service to manage the desired state of those pods or application as per the user instructed here. So this is the whole process, which is the high level diagram in this. And once your pod or your application has been launched on these particular nodes, your routes will be created, or you can create your own routes by defining the URL and so on, and that will be exposed to the outside world only from that particular router node, not from the nodes which you are using inside it. So this is the high level diagram I have explained to you. I hope this is understandable to you guys. Then benefits for developers, like if we are using the OpenShift container platform, what the benefits can have a developer, like access a broad selection of application component. So if you are a developer and you are planning to like launch a application on the multi-language support, like as I mentioned to you, it support the PHP, it support Node.js and so on. So you can have, as well as the multiple application component, like inside the application you can have the persistent storage, number of replicas and so on. Deploy the application environment on demand. So if you would like to deploy something, you don't need to tell to the operations team, I would like to launch one application. As I mentioned to you, application platform is provided by the OpenShift, is a self driven, so you can log in and you can launch your application and pods. It's leverage your choice of interface and integrate with existing tools, like as I mentioned to you, it support the CLI and graphical. So if you would like to go with the graphical, it's provide a web based dashboard, so you can log in on the web URL with the help of the cluster URL and provide your credentials, and then you can manage everything from the dashboard. If you are using the CLI and you would like to work on CLI, like command line tools, so you can do that one as well. It support each and everything from the CLI. It automate the application deployment, build and source to image. This is the very new concept they have introduced in OpenShift. You can have the deployments, you can have the builds. So as I mentioned to you, it support the Ansible, it support the Jenkins and other tools as well. So you can automate the full flag process. Once your developer has been committed the changes in code, you can fully do the automation and CI/CD pipeline. This is the also good concept is about like source to image. Developers, they don't have too much knowledge about the Docker, the images and so on. So what you can do, you can build up the images for your developers. This is the builder image for the PHP, this is the builder image for Node.js and so on. So you can provide those images. So developers, they want to like put the code based on the PHP or something, so they can directly use the builder image of the PHP, and they just need to provide the repository URL on the dashboard, and rest of the things will be taken care by the image itself. So there is not much need to do from the developer side. Enable collaboration across users, teams, and projects. Yeah, definitely it's supported by the RBAC tool, so you can collaborate with your users, teams, and projects. So like for example, you would like to give a one person cluster wide view role, so they can view the resources but they cannot do the changes. You can provide a read only permission, you can provide a read and write permission, or you can provide the full access of the OpenShift cluster. So you can define those process as well. Benefits for the IT operations, like I'm a guy who is managing the IT operations and on OpenShift. So what I can do, deploy a secure enterprise container based application platform. Yeah, directly I can do that one. So developers, they are facing some issues while deploying the application on the OpenShift cluster. I can directly log into the OpenShift cluster using the dashboard or CLI, doesn't mean, and I can troubleshoot it. Enable application developers while improving operational efficiency and infrastructure utilization. Utilize the advanced scheduling and automated placement with regions and zones for high availability. Leverage the powerful declarative management for the application services. So if you don't want to use like just click on next and so on, so what you can do, you can create a declarative your instructions in the format of YAML and JSON. It support both of the format, and you can mention that one and while launching the application. So you can maintain the configuration of your deployments in the format of the declarative language, like in YAML format as well as in JSON format. You can manage the user, team, and access and integrate with the enterprise authentication system. So by default it will have the flat file authentication, where you have to create the users and password, and they will be stored in a one file which is based on HTTPD. So if you would like to integrate with your like existing authentication system like the Active Directory and so on, so that is also supported. For example, if you are running the OpenStack, so OpenStack supporting the authentication from the keystone, so that can also be integrated with your OpenShift environment to have the user authentication from the keystone. OpenShift on OpenStack, this is the truly open hybrid cloud. So why we are saying open hybrid cloud? Because there is no vendor lock. OpenStack is also open source, OpenShift is also the open source, so you can build up the truly open hybrid cloud in your premises. You can deploy the OpenShift on the top of the OpenStack by using the heat templates. So you can write the heat template. Again, heat templates are written in the JSON format or in YAML format. So which one you would like to use, you can use. Most of the people, they preferred by using the YAML format. Integrate apps with the OpenStack services. As I mentioned to you, if you would like to integrate your authentication system with the help of Keystone in an OpenStack, that is also supported. Manage it with cloud forms. So now you will have the OpenStack dashboard and you will have the OpenShift dashboard. So I would like to manage both of the platform by using a one common tool, which is the cloud forms. So that can be managed with all. Get it all once with Red Hat Cloud Suite. So this is the portfolio from the Red Hat. So if you would like to get this one, just get it a Red Hat Cloud Suite, and it will give you the cloud forms capability to manage and maintain or administrate your hybrid cloud with the help of cloud forms. So there is no need to manage the individual platform like OpenStack or OpenShift. You can manage the both of the platform with the help of cloud forms. So this is the truly open hybrid cloud you can build up in your premises. I hope you like this video. Why OpenShift? This is the most important question asked by the companies or the person or the people, why we should use OpenShift. So I would like to describe here the OpenShift is a platform where you have the self-driven concept, where it's supporting the multi-language tools or the technology, where you can have the management capability with the help of CLI as well as the graphical and so on. It will accelerate the application delivery in DevOps process. So OpenShift help organizations accelerate development and deployment of critical applications. Because like if I can give you the example, I have also used the Kubernetes, but if you are using just a Kubernetes, you have to do a lot of things by self. You have to create your ingress controller, rules and so on, right? But OpenShift is a, I will say it's a enterprise great platform where all these tools are certified from the Red Hat and community version as well, and they are providing a wrapper service on the top of those resources to manage the enterprise great platform for your company. It is a customer momentum, so every day one or more customer are looking into the OpenShift, because when we are saying okay, let's move to the microservices process, so to manage the microservices is not that much easy which we are thinking, so it's required a lot of effort. So instead of doing all those efforts individually, so OpenShift providing you the platform where you can manage those efforts or those things from a one common platform. It's an open source innovation leader as well. Like as I mentioned to you, if you don't want to go in vendor lock, so you can also use the OpenShift Origin. So there is no vendor lock because OpenShift is itself a open source. Kubernetes is also the open source, and Docker is also the open source. So everything is open source and driven by the upstream community. So yeah. And it also has the enterprise ready platform. As I mentioned to you, there are two ways to get the enterprise level platform. One is called OpenShift Enterprise, and another is called OpenShift Online. Online is just like platform as a service where you can run your applications, but enterprise you can deploy the OpenShift in your own premises or on the cloud vendors like AWS and Google. So I hope you like this video. I have tried to explain what the OpenShift is, and see you in the next session. Thanks for watching.